What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the God Logic Apologetic Stream, the God Logic Project. This is what we're doing here, where we have interfaith dialogues and discussions challenging Islam, Christianity, Mormonism, atheism, and all of the above. So anybody's welcome. Today we have my new friend who's been coming on for the past few weeks, combating disbelief, and we're going to have a good time with this conversation. And it's just going to be a one-on-one where we get to know each other a little better. Ain't that right, combatant? I see you over there. All right, here we go, guys. It's God. It's God. What's going on, my brother? You're up on stage, combatant. Your mic is muted if you need to unmute. There you go.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, my friend. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Good. So, we got just me and you today. Nobody to interrupt or, come on in or anything like that. Live discussion on whatever you want, man. Honestly, you've been dealing with a lot. You've been getting drilled a lot for the past few weeks. So I'll let you, kind of drive the ship a little bit.
Okay, I appreciate it. I want
fair.
to. I had to mute for a second because you played music. So.
Oh yeah, you kind of messed up my intro, man.
Yeah. But I just want to start by saying, in the name of Allah, the Most Merciful, all praise is due to Allah. May He send His peace and blessings on His final messenger Muhammad. And I hope this conversation will be of benefit, and that hopefully by this conversation people will be guided to the truth, whatever that truth may be. I'm not gonna just blatantly claim that Islam is the truth. I can't force anyone to believe that, but I want to just prove it. I believe I can prove it with proofs, arguments, and logic. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting. You said that you also I guess debate Christians as well. I thought you were Christian.
I didn't say Christians. I said Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, atheists, all this kind of stuff. I didn't say Christians.
Yeah, you did. You gotta go back. That's okay. No problem.
If I said Christians, I misspoke. If I said Christians.
Yeah, no problem. So you're Christian. What denomination are you?
I don't claim to have a denomination. I just believe in the Bible. I'm a Trinitarian. And that's pretty much it for that.
Okay. That's good. So
come on, man, bring the questions, man.
Yeah, first I just want to formally invite you to Islam. By
why would you do that?
Well, Islam is the only way to save oneself from the hellfire and to be rewarded with paradise. So
sure?
anyone who doesn't want to go to the fire should want to be Muslim, because that's the only way to avoid that fate.
So you know for sure that you're not going to be in the fire?
Well, I can't say personally for myself, because we can't say that me as a individual I'm going to go to paradise, but Muslims will go to paradise. So if Allah accepts my Islam, then yeah, I will go to paradise.
Then how do you know then? See, how can you tell me that Islam is the only way out of the fire when you don't know if you're going to touch the fire or not? How can you advise me to join you when you don't know for yourself if you'll make it out?
No, I'm saying the belief of Islam is the way to save oneself from the fire.
But you don't know.
I do know. Yes, that's for sure. I said me as an individual because I have my sins, of course. I have my belief. I'm Muslim now, but no one can just assume that he won't be, for example, tested. Maybe he'll leave Islam. Maybe he'll have sins that will cause him to go to the fire. That's why we spend our life constantly working to save ourselves. We can't just assume. We can't just
save yourself.
Yeah, we can't proclaim that we're going to go to paradise and not ever go to the
So you
fire.
you think that you can save yourself?
No, I can't save myself except by believing in Allah and following his revelation, being Muslim.
What did Muhammad believe? Did he believe that he would go to heaven?
Of course, he's a prophet. All prophets go to paradise.
Muhammad said that he didn't know what Allah was going to do with him or with you.
Yeah, that's out of being humble. It's not. It's not really becoming someone to just say, I'm going to paradise. But
Well, Jesus said it. Jesus said, he said, I am going away to prepare away from you, and I will take you to myself. So why would I leave Jesus, who guarantees me salvation and says himself that he's preparing homes and houses for me in heaven and paradise, to go to a person who admittedly says, I don't know. I don't know what God's going to do with me or you. Why would I switch?
well, we as Muslims, one of our beliefs is that the first person who enters paradise is going to be the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he'll have the highest degree, the highest position in paradise,
According to what?
according to our beliefs.
But if Muhammad himself says, I do not know what God is going to do with me or with you, how can you say that you believe that? Why don't you believe Muhammad's words?
So, are you referring to the Quranic verse that says that? That's not the Prophet Muhammad's words. That's Allah's words.
That's
Actually,
Allah telling him what to say, right?
yeah, Allah's
So
words.
so Allah is the one who's revealing that Muhammad doesn't know what Allah is going to do with him.
Yeah, if you want to get a deeper meaning of that verse, you have to go to the tafsir. But I'm just telling you, as in general, the belief of Muslims is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he will be the first person who enters paradise. It won't be open for anyone except for him, and he's gonna be in charge of the grand intercession. And all the prophets are gonna say, "Go to Muhammad." When the people come to them on the day of resurrection and ask for intercession, they're gonna all say, "Go to Muhammad." Even Jesus is gonna say, "Go
So
to
you
Muhammad."
believe that Muhammad will intercede on your behalf.
Of course.
So you do believe in an intercession, a mediator.
And intercession, yes, of course, Muslims believe in intercession. That even before the judgment begins, there has to be the Prophet Muhammad has to go and peaceful. He has to ask Allah to start the judgment, to start.
Yeah, he's a mediator, which is, it's interesting because a lot of times we get a lot of flack for believing that Jesus is our mediator from the Muslims when they're, Muhammad is clearly your mediator. Thank you for being honest with that. The other Muslims are not too honest about that.
I don't know why. I mean, that's one of our core
It's
beliefs.
it's a core, yes, it is, but they're
That
not
he's
always
an
honest about it.
intercessor. He intercedes on behalf of his nation, on behalf of his followers.
So again, like, why would I leave what Jesus says when he guarantees me paradise, when he guarantees me heaven, and that he himself will take me to himself, when Muhammad himself says that he doesn't know, or Allah is revealing that Muhammad doesn't know what he will do with him or the people? Why would I leave Jesus for that? Why would I leave the certainty of salvation for the uncertainty of salvation?
Well, there's a lot of problems with what you said. Okay, I don't even know where to start, but I'll try. Okay, so first of all, we have to we have to ask ourselves, are those the words of Jesus? Did Jesus say that? Hopefully you can hear me better now. Yeah, did
Yeah.
Jesus say that? Um, because like I said in our last meeting a couple of days ago, the four gospels are all anonymous. So we can't accurately trace back the words of Jesus, more or less the meaning behind those words. So you have to really kind of like put your trust in the Christian, I guess, Christian uh, scholarship that came before you, that they got things right. And um, with Islam, it makes total. The thing about the thing that's beautiful about Islam is everything makes total sense. because, and I think I kind
Really?
of alluded to this earlier and a couple days ago, is that when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came, he cleared up all of the confusion surrounding Jesus. Because
Really?
without Islam, we really don't know what Jesus said, what he
Without Islam?
believed, what he, yeah, because Islam gives a complete like life story summary, at least of the
Really?
life and teachings of Jesus.
All right. So where does it say that Jesus taught? Where does it say?
That he taught.
Yeah, like where when he taught, where does it say? Like, does it give the place where he taught?
Um, well, Jesus was born in Palestine, the
What's
holy
what's
the
what
holy land.
city? What city was he born in?
Um, so Jesus, it doesn't actually give that detail
You're right.
that I'm aware of in the Quran.
What about his where he taught? Where did he begin his ministry? Does it give
Yeah.
that?
Um, so it doesn't in the Quran. It doesn't give those details
Right.
about the
But you
exact
just
city.
what about his the names of his disciples? Does it give that?
No.
Okay. So you see how you don't know anything about Jesus from the Quran.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those details that you just mentioned.
If we were to rely on just the Quran, we wouldn't know anything about Jesus because the Quran doesn't know anything about Jesus.
Except for the most important things like who he was, what he believed, what he taught his followers.
What? All right. Can you show me where Jesus taught his followers and what he taught them from the Quran?
Yeah, you want me to share my screen or do you want to share yours?
Yeah, I could pull it up.
Okay. Let's see here.
What verse we going to?
Let's see. Let me see here. Okay. Can we go to chapter, for example? Let's see here. Chapter number, I believe, is 63. Let me make sure here. Chapter 61. And then when you go to chapter 61, go to verse number 6.
All right. And when Jesus, son of Mary, said, "Children of Israel, I am indeed the messenger of God to you, confirming the Torah that is before me, and giving good tidings of a messenger who shall come after me, whose name shall be Ahmed." Then, when he brought them the clear signs, they said, "This is a manifest sorcery." Where does this show what Jesus taught?
Yeah, right there it says when Jesus, son of Mary said, so he's teaching right now, "O children of Israel, I am indeed the messenger of Allah to you, confirming the Torah." And I think you agree with that up to now, right?
Sure. I don't see any teachings though.
And giving yeah, that's what he's teaching right now. He's telling them, "I am the messenger of Allah." This is a lesson telling the people, "I am the messenger of Allah."
Oh, saying I'm the messenger of Allah is not a lesson teaching me anything. Okay, you're the messenger of Allah. What do you got?
I mean, that's the most important lesson right there, so that you know that everything else that comes out of his mouth is going to be from revelation.
All right, so that's what I'm asking. What came out of his mouth? Is this it? All he said
Yeah,
is, "I came confirming the Torah and to tell you about a messenger after me." Is that it?
that's just one thing that he taught. That
Okay,
there's going
like,
to come a
can we
messenger
have
after me, whose name is Ahmed.
Do we
Or
have
do you,
any? Do we have any like anything that he taught though, like his teachings? Because if this is all we have from Jesus from
no,
this
you can
33
go
years on earth.
to, you can also go to the chapter of the women, chapter 4, at the end of chapter 4. Let's see here. So let's see.
So like for like just to be clear, I didn't get a lesson here. All we got was okay. He said he confirms the Torah, and he told them about somebody coming after.
And he's the messenger of Allah. Do you agree that he's the messenger? He was the messenger of Allah.
Sure, but there's still nothing that he taught. None of his teachings are here.
He
You know what I'm
taught that
saying?
the Prophet Muhammad will come after him.
Okay. So he didn't, but did he tell us anything about him? Like, did he say he's gonna do this, this, and this? Like, did he give any details?
I mean, you don't really need to. Once you know that there's a messenger coming after me, then you
So
follow that messenger.
all I'm
Wouldn't
asking,
you? Wouldn't you follow that
you don't get what
messenger?
I'm asking. You don't get what I'm asking. Because remember, you said that we find the teachings of Jesus and everything that we know about Jesus, we find it in the Quran. That's what you said. You said without the Quran, we wouldn't know anything about Jesus. And so I'm putting that claim to the test. So far, we don't know where Jesus was born. We don't know where he's from. We don't know when he started his ministry. We don't know who his followers were. And we don't even know what he taught, except that he was a messenger from God who confirmed the Torah. And he said that a messenger is coming after him. What about what he himself preached? Like, so far, we don't know anything about Jesus from the Quran.
The most important thing is that he's the messenger of Allah. So you know he's not the son of Allah. He's not Allah himself. If you just took that small bit of information, then you wouldn't be Christian anymore, because Christians believe he's the son of God, right?
Where does Jesus teach that though here? Does
Well,
Jesus teach does Jesus teach that? Do we find Jesus teaching that?
okay, let's go to chapter 4 then.
All right.
Let's see here.
And then I have another question about this specific verse as well. Matter of fact, before we move on to chapter 4, can I ask my question about this?
Yeah.
Where do we find Jesus making this statement?
Where do you find him making the statement? What do you mean?
Because the Quran is quoting Jesus from the first century. Where do we find Jesus himself saying this, like the direct statement?
Right here in the Quran.
So, okay, so it's not until 600 years later that we actually can know that Jesus said this?
Well, if you were there at the same time that Jesus was alive, and you were one of his followers, then you'd have heard this. Even after he left, as long as people were around to pass on the teachings of Jesus, you would have heard this.
Okay,
Um,
but what is the proof that he said this?
the Quran is the proof.
All right, so the only proof that we have that Jesus made this statement comes 600 years after Jesus, correct?
Um, I don't know if I want to say the only proof, because there was still scriptures.
Good. There we go.
Right.
Excellent. That's what I wanted you to say. That's the answer. There was still scriptures at that time. So do we have any evidence of any scriptures where we can find the statement?
Yeah, you have your Bible in front of you, don't you?
I do. So we can find where Jesus makes this statement. I came confirming the Torah. I'm a messenger of Allah, and after me will come one named Ahmed. We can find that statement in my Bible.
Not in those exact words.
So that I'm asking for this statement.
Okay, let me try to explain to you. Okay. See, Muslims, why do Muslims, especially those who were formerly Christians, for example, or other religions, why did they accept Islam? It's because they followed the principles of the Bible, and by using those principles, they they come to Islam.
By using the
So
principles of the Bible, they come to Islam.
yeah,
Okay. Where do we find Jesus making this statement in the Bible?
well, like I said, you won't find these exact same words in the Bible.
So there's no
Um,
evidence of that statement that pre-exists the Quran.
well, I was getting to that.
Okay.
Okay, so if you follow the principles of
Hmm.
the Bible teaches that there's one God, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the Bible also teaches that this one God, he sends prophets and messengers to people in order to teach the people the religion, correct?
Sure.
I'm not trying to get you tripped up or anything. I'm
No,
just
sorry. I just I
these are
was
the
reading the
principles.
comment. Thank you, Chloe, for your for the donation. Oh man, such a hater. Chloe Baked is a hater, guys. Chloe Baked. All right, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, my friend.
So two of the principles in the Bible that we get from the Bible
Is that
is
there's
that
one
there's one
God?
God, and that
Uh-huh.
this one God sends messengers. He chooses from amongst people messengers to reveal revelation so that people know what their religion is.
Sure. Where does Jesus make this statement
I already
before the
told you.
existence of the
I'm getting
Quran?
to that. I'm getting to that. He
Okay,
doesn't,
you're
like I
taking
said,
too
he
long,
doesn't.
my friend. I asked the I look how I like to do things, man. I like to deal with things directly. I don't like, like long-winded stuff that doesn't matter, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So can you give me some substance on what I asked?
Yeah,
All right.
like I said. So the exact wording of verse number 6 in Surah in chapter 61 is not. You won't find it in those exact same words in the
So I will
Bible.
not so I won't find this statement anywhere except the Quran that came 600 years later. Is that correct?
Exactly how it's written here, no.
Okay, so remember that's what I asked. I asked for this statement that I'm seeing from the Quran because it quotes him. It quotes him. And you see the quotations.
Yeah, but
Jesus, son of Mary, said, and then we have this quotation from Jesus. So you're saying, admittedly, that this statement doesn't exist before the Quran hops on the scene, correct?
well, not that we have in front of our hands right now,
Okay.
because I don't think even you don't believe that everything that Jesus taught is contained within the New Testament, do you?
But we have what Jesus taught. So
But not everything,
to,
though,
to,
right?
to answer your question directly, no, we don't have everything that Jesus taught and did because not everything was necessary to put in the books. That's what John says. If he were to put everything that he taught and did, because he did many things, many more things, then uh, he would have. Thank you for the donation, Shavi. I appreciate you. Then he would have. It would have been, the books wouldn't be able to contain all that information. So obviously that's a
I'm
statement
talking
from
about
John.
the
And
most
so when you
important
have, hold on
information.
one second. And so the most important things we have here. And so
So okay,
we
so you're
have, hold
saying
on, let me finish. We have what Jesus taught. We have what Jesus taught. We have it in writing and existing before the Quran hopped on the scene, 600 years before. And so if you're saying, you're acknowledging, okay, you know what? No, we do not find this statement. We do not find this statement in in any of the writings from Jesus's teachings. Okay, which is good. I'm glad you acknowledge that because I agree with you. So, and I'll bring down the question now. I'll bring down the challenge. Do we have anything resembling this statement from Jesus about Ahmed coming? Does he mention Ahmed at all before the Quran?
well, the question I want to ask again, are you saying that all of the most important teachings, all of them, everything that he said that was important, of the greatest importance, are you saying that all of those things are in the New Testament?
Yes.
How can you prove that?
That's what we have. And so it says in our New Testament, that he did and said other things that, you know, they didn't put in the book. But
Wait
they
a minute.
put what
You said because
they put everything that was required for us to, like, for example, let me show you the verse. Everything that was put in the book was everything we need to come to belief. So let me show you that verse. And then I would like for you to answer the question.
because you said you answered because that's what we have.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
This
That's
is
the first
why.
thing you said.
So this is why. Okay. Under all written, I suppose to die. Yeah, Jesus did not say. We know this, but this was true. Now, there are also many other things that Jesus did, were every one of them to be written. I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. But let me show you. I want to show you. I think it's the previous chapter when he says why these things are the things that are written. Yeah, here it is. The purpose of the book. Now, Jesus did many other signs in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written. So these specific things are written. Why? So that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. So the reason why we don't have the extra stuff that Jesus did or said is because the things that are in the book are necessary for belief and coming to the truth. So that's why we have what we have. Now, my question to you is, does Jesus ever mention Ahmed coming? Does he ever mention Ahmed before the Quran hops on the scene? Do we have evidence of that?
Okay, now let me ask you a question. How many gospels are there?
There's one. It's called the fourfold gospel. So
So there's not four,
do we have
there's
a
not
mention of Ahmed?
you don't have four gospels in your New Testament?
It's all one gospel. 4 accounts, one gospel. Do we
Wait,
have a
wait,
mention of Ahmed?
wait a minute. Don't Are you trying to evade the question? Because you just
No, I
can't
think
say.
that you're evading the question because I asked this like 5 minutes ago, and we keep chopping up on different questions. And I've noticed how I've been answering you directly. Yeah, the questions you asked, I've been answering them
But you
directly.
don't want to
Brought my proof.
engage in some of the questions I ask. Like this question, you're just gonna make the four gospels one. You just can't do that.
Okay, we can address that in a second. Are you going to be able to answer my question right now or
Well,
no?
this is part of my answer because what I'm trying to tell you is not everything that Jesus said that was important. I'm not talking about the little minor details. I'm talking about the things that were important. Not everything was recorded, and we don't have access to everything important that he said.
Do you believe that the mention of the next prophet is important?
Of course.
All right. So, do we have any evidence of Jesus mentioning the next prophet, Ahmed, before the
Well,
Quran hops on the scene?
not by the name of Ahmed, but he does mention. He says he's going to send the spirit of truth, and that's some Muslim scholars
Ah,
have interpreted that to mean the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
what do you think?
I definitely believe it's possible that could be the understanding or the meaning of that
You
verse.
think possibly or it is?
I can't say for sure because I don't know exactly what is authentic from the New Testament, what's not. It's not
Mm,
really of great importance to Muslims because, like I said, we have the
it
Quran.
is. It has to be important because it's used as a proof for the prophethood of Muhammad and a proof for the truth of the Quran.
Well, the proof of the Prophet of Muhammad is simply, I mean, does Jesus ever say, "I'm the last prophet. I'm the seal
So,
of the prophets. There's not going to come a prophet after me," for example.
no, so here's the point. The point is that The Quran, as an evidence, uses the confirmation of the Torah and the Gospel. In chapter 7, verse 157, one of the proofs for Muhammad's prophethood is that he is found written in the Torah and the Gospel, the Psalms, and all these things. So this is important for you as a Muslim and for me as a Christian to be able to verify this statement. You know what I'm saying? It's extremely important.
We don't have access to the Torah in Hebrew. I don't think you can read Hebrew, can you? Do you have access to the original Torah in the Hebrew language?
I have access to the Hebrew language. Yes, we have lexicons. We have access to the Greek.
I'm not saying Google Translate. I'm
not saying Google Translate. I said lexicons.
Do you have access to the original Torah? That's my question.
So the Torah that was written down on Mount Sinai? No.
Not necessarily the tablet that it was written on. I'm saying even if it's on paper right now, do you have access to the same words?
Then yes.
How would you know though? That's my question. How would you know?
Because we have the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have the copies of the scrolls that were preserved that date before even Jesus's time. We have these things. Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate you, brother.
But you weren't there at the time. Neither was I, of course. But you can't verify that nothing was changed. Nothing was.
Yeah, we can because we have the copies and we can compare. So the thing is, with our access to what we have, we know what we have is legitimate because they all say the same thing. They all verify one another, and they verify history as well. And so with this being said, we have, for example, we have this amount of evidence to back up our faith, right? To verify our faith. And the Quran uses this as an evidence. We are supposed to be able to find Muhammad written in our Torah, written in our gospel, find the Psalms talking about him, things of this nature. Now, I'm addressing the first claim because you said in the beginning that we don't know anything that we find out about Jesus, anything we know about Jesus comes from the Quran. That's the only legit source. And then as we started going down that line and seeing if that was actually true, we find out actually no, we don't have anything about Jesus. We don't know what he taught. We don't know exactly what he said. There's no proof of anything that he said from the Quran. The Quran will make these claims, but we can't verify them. Every time I ask
the end of chapter 5, we never did. I mean, there's so many verses in the Quran that talk about Jesus.
Can we acknowledge that the statement of Jesus saying that Ahmed comes after him, that doesn't exist before the Quran?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Because we don't have, like I said, we don't have the original scriptures, the original.
Why quote it? Then why did you quote John when I asked you about something like this? And you're the one who quoted the gospel. You're the one who said, well, you got your Bible open, don't you? So you went to my Bible. I didn't.
Why did you do that? I have no problem going to your Bible. It's no problem. But
so you do.
I told you before. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we can't say 100% for sure any of the verses in the New Testament was accurately quoted from Jesus.
And obviously we cannot be sure about what the Quran quotes about Jesus. Obviously, we can't. No evidence.
There's a big difference. The difference is the Quran is revelation from Allah. Everything is
based on what? Allah. Based on what?
Based on what's written in the Quran. Based on our belief.
Got you. So because I believe that the Quran is divinely inspired, therefore the Quran is divinely inspired. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I'll use that same logic. That's why I was asking you about the belief in prophets, right?
I believe the New Testament gospel is divinely inspired, and so therefore it's divinely inspired. We have what Jesus said.
Well, any objection? Quite that simple, because
there's more to it.
But the New Testament is not, because the New Testament we already know for sure it was written by people.
And who was the Quran written by?
Like I said, the Quran is revelation from Allah. It's no
one's
word.
Was it written?
Was it written down on a document, you mean?
Yeah. Was the Quran written?
That's how we have it now.
Okay, yeah, so the Quran was written by people.
But who's the author of the words, though? The author of the words is Allah. We know
Exactly. So just like the author of the gospel is Jesus, although it was written by men, we can be sure that it's divinely inspired
whose
because it comes from
words, who
Jesus.
chose the wording.
Oh, good. Who chose the wording of the Quran?
Allah.
Really? So, okay. So who chose the wording of the gospel? Jesus.
How can you say that when it was written by four different people, four
How
different
can
authors?
you say that that Allah is the one who decided the wording of the Quran when it was written by different authors,
It was okay. If I
different
dictate,
scribes?
let me explain something to you.
I'm gonna use your same criteria, the
Okay,
man.
okay, I'm going to explain.
All
If
right.
I dictate something to you,
Mm-hmm.
if I say Avery, write down what I say, and I just start and I read you a page of wording, okay, and you write
Yep.
down each word that I say.
Okay.
Whose words are those?
Those are the author's words, not the scribes.
My words, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Now, if I say Avery, I'm gonna tell you some. I'm gonna give you some information and take notes about what I said, for example, or give a summary of what I said, and you listen to what I say. You don't write down word for word. You just paraphrase what I'm saying, what you got from what I said. Whose
Mhm.
words are those now?
Those are still my words. I mean,
Those are your words.
the author's words. Those are still
No,
the
no,
author's
that's
words.
not my words. It's your words.
It is. It's the author's words.
It's not my words because you chose the word ordering. You maybe I said something that you didn't understand and you wrote it down in a different way. But if I say dictate what I say, there's no way there can be an error. You're just gonna write down word like those when you go to court and you have the people who type down the everything that's being said in the court. They don't use their words. They just type down every word that each person is saying word for word.
Okay.
So if I dictate something to you and you write it down, it doesn't matter who writes it down. It's still my words. If you
Yeah.
as long as you write down word for word what I said, I don't care who writes it down. It's going to
Yeah.
be my words.
And a paraphrase is still that author's words as well. That's why people don't get copywritten when they paraphrase a quote. That's why it's no copyright because it's still that author's words.
No, it's the opposite. It's
then
copyright
then
if you
why
write
then why
if
don't
you
they
write down exactly what the person says.
why don't they get
That's
copyrighted
copyright.
for paraphrasing?
Yeah, if you paraphrase something, that's fine. That's your words. That's the whole point.
That they
You
should be
can get. I'm
copyrighted.
not saying that you're not going to get my meaning. You can get my meaning, but it's going to be your word choice. You're going to choose the words, and you
Okay.
could make a mistake. You
Okay.
could forget something. You could add something that I said that I didn't say. But
Okay.
if I say dictate, if I dictate something to you, you can't add anything. As long as you accurately dictate what I said, you can't add or take anything away. Okay,
Okay.
that's the whole point. The
No
Gospels,
problem. Uh-huh.
the Gospels, they were not. Jesus didn't say he didn't dictate those words to those authors, and they wrote it down word for word. Those authors,
What is your evidence of that?
because for example, you'll find um,
It says Jesus.
contradictions,
It says
contradictions.
Jesus. It says Jesus said this, and then they quote what Jesus said. So how is that
But
not a quote of
but the
Jesus?
question is, who was it? Was it an
What do you mean who?
eyewitness? Was it an eyewitness?
You said in your example, it doesn't matter who you dictated it to, as long as they dictate the words directly from
No, the
you.
person had to
Exactly
be
what you
there. He had
said,
to
then
be
those are the
present.
author's words. No, you didn't say that. You
As
didn't
long as
say
he's
that.
present, that's
You
just
didn't
common
say
sense.
that.
He has to be present.
Okay,
Okay,
so we have all right, so we have the people present here. So were the people present during Muhammad's time when they dictated what Muhammad was reciting?
so the Prophet Muhammad, he got revelation from Allah. He
Uh-huh.
recited it. His
And then
companions wrote down
it's
word for word.
how do you
Okay.
know?
Now, well, if you don't want to, I can't make you believe that, but this is how
I'm
this
just
is what
asking how do you know?
this is what history says. This is what
you can
history says.
you can make a claim and then I ask you how do you know? You have to provide the evidence
I'll
for your
just say
claim.
history. I'll just say this is what history
That's
says.
not an answer.
History tells
What
us
history? What history?
the biography of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
The biography of the prophet.
Yeah. For
Where do I
example,
find that? Where do I find that?
there's many books on the
By
biography. You
Ibn
haven't read
Ashaq?
it yet?
You talking about by Ibn Ashaq?
Oh, that's one of them.
Okay, so Ibn Ashaq says that the Gospel of John was written by John, and it's one of the Gospels of Jesus. So should I
Well,
take Ibn
he can say
Ashaq's words
I
when
don't
he
I know
says,
I'm not sure about that, but what I'm telling
"What do
you
you mean
is
you're not sure? You want
Christian.
me to show you that? I
No,
can literally
no,
show you
no.
that."
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Christian scholars, they say the Gospels were written by
Come in.
anonymous authors,
No, they
and
don't.
not only yes they do. We can pull up Wikipedia right now or pull up Britannica Encyclopedia
Do you
Britannica.
know what
Whichever one you
anonymous
want.
means? Is so. Hold on a
No,
second. Let's
let me
just
finish. Let me finish.
no.
Not
Let's
only
slow down the
because
train
it's
because you're doing a lot of jumping.
no, no, I'm not jumping.
You quoted as a criteria the biography of the prophet. Every time
No,
I've
no, I
been
didn't say
challenging you
criteria. I said you
or
asked me how
bringing
do I
you,
know.
I
You
said,
said how
how
do
do
I
you
know?
know? The first criteria that you brought up was the biography of the prophet.
No,
That's what you said.
you said how do I know?
So okay, good. When I asked you how do you know this, your criteria was the biography of the prophet, for example. So that was the first thing you mentioned. So if the biography of the prophet is good enough to prove the Quran and the legitimacy of it because it has truth in its history, well, then it's good enough to prove the Gospels because according to the biography of Muhammad by Ibn Ashaq, the Gospel of John was written by John and is the Gospel of Jesus.
According to the
Ibn Ashaq.
no, I'm talking about the Christian scholars. Your
Ibn
Christian
Ashaq.
scholars.
Don't jump. Ibn Ashaq.
I'm not contradicting what you said. What I'm telling
Okay,
you
so
is
deal with what it. Deal with what it.
no,
Don't
no.
skip
Let me
over it. You
finish.
got to deal with it.
Let me finish.
No, you
The
have to deal with what was just said. Don't skip
hold on.
over.
Hold on. I'm getting to it. What I'm saying is, according to Christian scholars, the four gospels were written by anonymous authors, and they say they were most likely not eyewitnesses.
That's not even true. That's not true
You
by
can
the
pull up.
Christian scholars, and that's a
Okay,
lie.
can
So
you please
again,
pull up
I'm
the
not gonna let you
encyclopedia?
run off and jump and do the Muslim
No,
shuffle.
I'm asking. Can you pull up the encyclopedia?
So you have to answer the question: is Ibn Ashaq good enough? So let's just go with this. Let's go with what you just said. So according to Christian scholars, Ibn Ashaq is wrong. Ibn Ashaq is not a good enough source to prove the Quran or the Gospel.
I didn't say Ibn Ishaq was wrong.
Good. So then stop quoting people that contradict him. Then
What did Ibn Ishaq say?
he said, and I quote, that the Gospel of John was written by John and it's the Gospel of Jesus. He
Can
also
you
mentioned how Matthew was a disciple, how Peter was a follower of Jesus, how and Paul was a follower of Jesus. Peter and Paul went together to the city to preach and spread the message.
okay? I'm not sure what he meant when he said that.
He meant exactly what he said. So should I reject what Ibn Ashaq said, or is it good enough to use as a proof? Since you said his writing is history. So should I take his history as the truth?
So let me ask you a question.
Oh my God, you can't answer. Why can't you
I'm
answer?
trying to answer. I'm
All right,
trying
so
to be as
you don't
straightforward as
have
I
to
can.
ask me a question. Just
Because
answer the
it just
question.
brings a question to my mind. So are you saying you base your evidence
No,
that
we're going off of what you base your evidence on. I asked you, how do you know that the Quran is inspired? How do you know that it is transmitted correctly, directly from the Prophet's mouth?
okay,
You
let me answer.
said the history that we find in the biography of Muhammad. I said by Ibn Ashaq. You said yes.
Okay,
So I
let
said,
me
okay. So we go with what Ibn Ashaq said, and that's history. Using your consistent criteria, he gives credibility to the Gospel of John and the apostles that we find written in the New Testament.
okay,
So should we take what he said as truth since it's history?
okay, let me answer. Okay. So first of all, like I said, um I'm not sure what Ibn Ishaq meant by that statement, and it's possible he could be wrong. And the question I asked for you,
He
and
could be
I think
wrong.
you tried
Nice.
to let me finish. Let me finish.
I love it.
I think you tried to evade it, but I don't think Christians are leaning on Ibn Ishaq as a proof for
You are.
the
That's the
authenticity of
point.
the
You
Gospels.
are. You're leading on Ibn Ashaq as a proof. So I'm using your man.
You brought
I need you
first
to
of all, you
I
brought
need
up
you to
Ibn
pay
Ishaq,
pay attention to
didn't
what's
you?
happening. Pay attention. I am using your own criteria. So I'm holding you to your own criteria and to see if you will be consistent. If Ibn Ashaq is good enough to be able to prove that the Quran has been perfectly recited word for word from Muhammad, That's historical evidence. Then it's good enough to prove that the gospel is written by John and the words of Jesus because Ibn Ashaq says so. That's what he
Okay.
gives in his history.
Can I answer now?
So I'm using your, do you understand that I'm
That's
using
fine.
your
That's fine.
criteria, not
That's
mine?
fine. That's
All
fine.
right. As long as you
I'm trying to
understand that.
I'm trying to be as straightforward, as honest as possible. I'm not trying to evade the question. I'm seriously trying to answer your question. I'm telling you, first of all, Ibn Ishaq is not perfect. I don't even know what he meant by that statement. What I'm telling you is and this is what you're trying to evade. You're trying to say that somehow I'm crazy when I tell you that according to your Christian scholarship, the four gospels were written by anonymous authors and they were most probably not eyewitnesses.
Not according to
Okay,
Ibn Ashaq.
and you tried to tell me that that's not true. So I
Not
want you
according to Ibn
to
Ashaq.
prove that. No, I want you. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Okay, go ahead. All
Does
right.
everybody understand?
Um,
Everybody understand the criteria that we're using? We're using combating's criteria. Right? We're using combating's criteria. Ibn Ashaq is good enough to prove the Quran. Ibn
okay.
Ashaq should be good enough to prove the gospel.
Yeah. So, like I said, Ibn Ishaq is not perfect. What I'm telling you is, what I'm telling you
Ah,
is, are we going to throw all the Christian scholars under the bus for Ibn Ishaq? And are you telling me that they did not say? And this is yes or no question or answer. Are you trying to tell me that the Christian scholars did not say? Why is there an echo? There's an echo.
I don't know. Maybe you got YouTube open on another stream or another link or something.
Hold on. No, I don't have it open. But what I was saying is, are you trying to say that the four gospels are not anonymous and that what I said about them most
Correct.
likely not being eyewitnesses, are you saying that I'm just making that up?
I'm saying that that is false. So there's no substance to it. Okay, and
So you're saying that,
especially
so
according
according
to
to the
Ibn Ashaq. According
encyclopedia,
to Ibn Ashaq, you're wrong.
but according to Encyclopedia Britannica, I'm right, correct?
You're wrong still.
Can you pull
So
up the encyclopedia again?
even when you talk about anonymous writing, anonymous doesn't mean we don't know who wrote it. It means that the author didn't put their name in their work. That's what anonymous means when you're talking about writing of antiquity. It doesn't mean we don't know who wrote it. So when you're talking about this field,
Anonymous means
anonymous writers
exactly that.
means they didn't put their name in their works.
Okay, so
So
the
Ibn
name,
Ashaq, no, stop running from your criteria. All right, so are you throwing Ibn Ashaq under the bus now? Can we not use him as a criteria? Let me know.
I wouldn't necessarily say throw him under the bus. What I said was,
Should we throw him away? Should we like, okay, Ibn Ashaq, sorry, good try. Should we like scoot him on?
what I'm saying is, I'm not sure what he meant by that.
Okay, hold
I'm
on.
telling
Let me
you,
read for you.
according to my research, the four gospels were written by anonymous authors. Not only that, the most damaging evidence is that they say they were most probably not eyewitnesses. And why they say that? Because
Those
they
aren't
said
Christian
that there's,
scholars. Sorry, those are liberal scholars.
oh, now they're liberal. Okay.
All right, so let me read something for you from Ibn Ashaq, the one who all of a sudden now could make mistakes. He can't be used as a criteria for evidence and proof, I guess. Let's read. Let me see. So this is page 653 of the Life of Muhammad. Let's see here. Trying to find the relevant part here. Do not hang back from me as okay. Hung back from Jesus, son of Mary. They asked how they hang back. Okay. He called them to a task similar to that which I have called you. Those who had a short journey. Okay, so he's sending them out, sending the disciples out, yada yada. Oh yeah, this is good. All right, so here we go. It says, so they found a document. Habib al-Misri found a document which held the names of those who the apostles sent to the countries and kings and the Arabs and non-Arabs. Okay, and so what it says here is, let's read it. sent to the countries and kings and Arabs and non-Arabs, and what he said to his companions when he sent them. I sent it to Muhammad Shahab al-Zuhri, a trustworthy companion, and he recognized it. It said, God has sent me as a mercy to all men, so take a message from me. So take a message from me. God have mercy on you. Do not hang back from me as the disciples hung back from Jesus, son of Mary. All right. Um, they asked how they had hung back. And he said, he called them to a task similar to that to which I have called those who had called you. Right. So Muhammad is sending his companions out with messages to kings and Arabs and non-Arabs to preach the message of Islam. He's saying Jesus did the same thing with his disciples, sent his messengers out, his apostles out to spread the gospel, to spread the message, right? Again, this is Ibn Ashaq, The Life of the Prophet, page 653. He said, those who had to go a short journey were pleased and accepted. Those who had a long journey before them were displeased and refused to go. And Jesus complained of them to God. From that very night, every one of them was able to speak the language of the people to whom we sent. Does that sound familiar?
No, I think it's the first time I'm hearing this.
All right. So Ibn Ashaq is reporting the report from a companion of Muhammad that is telling the narration of when he sent out his companions. And he said that he's sending them out just as Jesus sent out the apostles. And then he gives the example of when he sent them out, they were able to speak the tongue of the people they were visiting. Where do you think we find this?
Is it in the Gospel of John?
It's actually in the book of Acts, chapter 2.
Okay.
Where the apostles, the Holy Spirit comes on the apostles, and they are preaching the gospel, and they're able to speak in the different languages of the people that's hearing them from all over the world. They came. This is in the book of Acts, which we are finding in Ibn Ashaq's life biography of the prophet.
But they didn't come to Arabia.
No, the Arabians went to them. Jews from Arabia went to them, according to Acts. They ended up going to Arabia later on. So they spoke in the tongues of the people, of the people that were listening to them. And so Ibn Ashaq records
who
this.
was sent to Arabia?
Let's see here. It tells us. Specifically, according to Ibn Ashaq, Bartholomew was sent to Arabia. All right, but let's see here. They spoke the language, yada yada. All right, Jesus said, "This is a thing which God has determined that you should do. So go." Those whom Jesus, son of Mary, sent, both disciples and those who came after them. So the disciples and the people who came right after the disciples. In the land were Peter, the disciple, and Paul with him. So Peter and Paul.
You're saying they went all over the world.
Yeah, they went all over the world. So Peter, the disciple, and Paul, notice Paul with him, who you guys, modern day Muslims, accuse Paul of being a heretic, a liar, a blasphemer, all these things. Ibn Ashaq and the early Muslims and the companions of Muhammad said that Paul was a believer and a messenger of Jesus, along with Peter.
Well,
let's keep going.
That's not true.
That's what Ibn Ashaq says.
What was Paul's last name? Because you act like there's only one.
Who cares? Paul. This is what Paul. This is what.
Well, that's important because you act like there's only one Paul.
No, it's not. There is only one Paul. Only one Paul, who's the apostle, Paul of Tarsus, the apostle who was preaching the gospel all around the world.
So you're saying anytime someone mentions the name Paul, it automatically falls back to who you think is Paul, the apostle.
Yeah, every time it mentions Muhammad, it falls back to who you think Muhammad is, right?
Good point. Good point. Okay, so
wait, let me finish.
It's really not. Let me ask you something. So you're saying that the disciples went all over the world preaching the gospel.
That's what Ibn Ashaq says.
So are you saying that they obviously would have went to India, right? So all the Hindus we find in India right now, are you saying that they're all going to hell?
Whoever doesn't have Christ, man. And so it is what it is. It is what it is.
So
I
you
mean,
saying
according
all
to
Hindus are going to hell? Everyone,
everyone who doesn't have Christ is under condemnation. That's why you need Christ. You need
even if
the Savior.
even if they never heard of him before.
Well, I don't, the Bible says that everyone will hear the gospel. God reveals himself to everyone and gives everyone an opportunity,
So you're
you
saying
know.
everyone in the
So
whole world has heard of Jesus Christ before they died.
I'm saying that God has, in some way, some form, revealed himself to everyone before
And
they
the
died, I believe, aside from probably children, if we're talking about children. So let me continue reading this.
so
Let me continue reading this. Let me continue reading this. No more distractions. So Peter the disciple and Paul with him. Paul belonged to the followers and was not a direct disciple. Okay. They went to Rome. So Peter and Paul went to Rome, according to this. Andrew, Andrew and Matthew to the land of the cannibals. Thomas to the land of Babel, which is in the land of the east. Philip to Carthage, which is in Africa. John to Ephesus, the city of the young men of the cave. James to Jerusalem, which is Aliyah, the city of the sanctuary. Bartholomew to Arabia, which is the land of the Hijaz. Simon to the land of Berbers. Judah to who was not one of the disciples, was put in the place of Judas. So he lists these names. Do these names sound familiar? Where do we find these names listed? Combating. Where do we find these names?
in the Bible.
Thank you. So we find these names in the New Testament. Why is Ibn Ashak, who you said is a good criteria for history, good enough to prove the Quran, why is he appealing to stories and narrations that we find in the New Testament in the Bible?
Okay. So one of our beliefs is that we believe in the books that came before us. I don't have any objection to using a verse in the Bible to prove a point because we believe that it is uh, a divinely revealed book. However, it's been abrogated by the Quran. So now we shouldn't use the Bible as an evidence to try to understand who Allah is and what his attributes are and how to attain paradise, how to save yourself from the fire, because we have the Quran. Ibn Ishaq was Muslim. So
Yes, he was.
so he
And he
obviously,
appealed to the Bible.
even
Amazing,
though
right?
he knew the Bible, he still didn't believe that, for example, Jesus was
He
God or Jesus
he
was the Son of God.
he because he didn't know what the Bible said. He didn't understand its theology, but he
How do you
appealed to
know?
the Bible for historical information.
How do
You
you
see
know?
this?
How do you know what he knew? We have
Because he's a
companions,
Muslim.
other prophet who were Christian, like Suhaib Rumi, who knew the Bible better than you and anyone alive now, and inspired that he became Muslim because he understood from the Bible, from the New Testament, he understood that the Prophet Muhammad was truly a prophet, and that's why he became Muslim. You also have the Negus of Ethiopia, who's also Christian, and he became Muslim. So, I mean, the points you're trying to make are they're not really they don't really they're not really pertinent to the argument. The question is, why don't you believe Muhammad was a final prophet? That's the question that I want you to address.
We can go through that. That's a good question. So
Because
solidifying this,
as you know, we can't pick and choose the prophets. We can't just say, well, I don't like what he said,
no problem.
so
Solidifying this, just solidifying this.
uh-huh.
So just wrapping this up so that we can move on because I'm okay with moving on. The point is that when I asked you, how do you know? Because because you were bringing objections to the New Testament and the gospel writings and stuff like this, and I was using your same energy, your same logic, and so I asked you, how do you know that the Quran was directly recited from Muhammad word for word that you have today, what you write that's written down word for word from Muhammad? You said history. I asked what history? You said the biography of Muhammad Ibn Ashaq. So The only reason why I'm using Ibn Ashaq is because it was good enough for you as a historical proof. And so I was showing, using that same criteria, that Ibn Ashaq gives credibility to the Bible. He uses the Bible. He uses the stories in Acts, the apostles, the gospel, all of that.
I mean,
So if that's good enough to prove the Quran for you, if you are consistent, it should be good enough for you to believe that the Bible is historically reliable.
not necessarily, because even you yourself, if I ask you right now, if I ask you, did Jesus recite his teachings, his revelation that he got from Allah? Do you believe he got revelation from Allah? Jesus.
He was the revelation himself.
So you're
He
saying
is the revelation himself.
You're saying he was God.
Duh. But that's another subject.
Oh, no,
wait. We can go into why we can go into the Prophet of Muhammad. Why I reject it.
Are you saying that he recited the words that came out of his
I
mouth?
already told you last time you asked this question. I already told you he's the one who gave the message.
So are you saying that his followers wrote down his words word for word as he said them, without any adding or taking away or using their own word
Yes.
order? You're saying
they dictated what he said. When they quote Jesus and they said Jesus said, they start quoting what Jesus said.
So all four gospels should be the exact same thing.
No, because they all give different stories. They give different accounts, different narratives of what one person heard, what the other person heard.
No, I'm saying when we see the words in red, Jesus's words, all four gospels.
For example, if I were to say, let's say in this conversation, right? We're having this conversation, and let's see this commenter right here, Philippians 2:10, right? Let's say this commenter right here. He's listening to the conversation, right? But he mentions that, I heard Avery said that Jesus was God. But then this commenter says, he doesn't mention what I said. This commenter, when he's reacting to the conversation, says, I heard combating disbelievers say, or ask, why do you reject Muhammad as the last messenger? Both of those statements are true, correct? Word for word.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking.
No, I'm giving you the illustration because you're asking why are they why you said the accounts should be the exact same. The answer is no, because you have different people giving their accounts of what they heard and what was said, and that doesn't contradict each other just because they're different details. That's the point.
No, I'm saying if they wrote down his words word for word, if he dictated to them and they wrote down his words word for word without adding or taking away or using their own word choice, I'm saying every time he said something in those four gospels, it should be the exact same. Those words in red that are Jesus's words, as long as he's talking about the same.
I feel like
topic.
You're asking the same question, bro.
No, I'm not asking the same question. You're saying, because you said you made a statement. You said that they wrote down word for word what he said. So my question is, if that's true, in those four gospels, everything that he said about the same topic, if he's at
what they heard of the same topic,
yeah, if he's at a place, if he's at a particular place, at
what they heard of the same topic.
No, I'm saying if he's at a particular place at a particular time and he's saying something, and you have four people writing down what he said, all 4 pages should be the exact same thing, right?
Coming from the perspective of what they heard. Are you not listening to that?
No, that's what you said. You said
that's exactly what I said. No, These are accounts.
Hold on.
See, that's why I've already answered this question.
No.
You're asking the same question.
Hold on. Calm down.
You're asking the same question, and I literally answered you. I'm not going to answer the same question over and over, bro. So do you want to go into the next topic?
Come on, we gotta be honest, Avery.
We do have to be honest. Stop asking the same question when I've already answered you.
No, I asked you. I said, did they write down word for word what he said?
What did I say?
You said yes.
All right, and then what else did I say with that? What else did I say?
You said yes. That's the only thing I was listening for.
No, so yes. See, exactly. If you stop there and say that's all that I said, that means you're not listening and you don't know that I answered your question already 6 times in full. So do you want to move on?
Yes,
I'm not going to answer the same question over and over.
Either when I dictate something, you write down word for word, yes or no. There's no yes but. If it's yes, then all four of the gospels, whenever he says something at the same place at the same time, should be the exact same. And you know that's not true. So you know that what you said is not quite accurate.
That's not what I said at all. So, but let's go with this then, because now let's do this. We're gonna have so much. Look, every time you bring up an objection, I answer you, and then what I do is I turn your objection against you. So now, what I'm going to do to you is turn the objection to you. Did Muhammad, his companions write everything that Muhammad said in those same situations, word for word, the exact same?
If you're referring to the Quran, yes.
Okay. So if I give you an example where his companions, who the best ones who know the Quran, give different readings and different ways that they heard Muhammad say these things, recite the verses, would that mean that it's unreliable, that the Quran is unreliable, that their testimony is unreliable?
Okay, so the Quran was revealed in 7 dialects.
I didn't ask
It
that.
wasn't just revealed in one. So
Okay. Do
just
they
because you
contradict?
pronounce the word, if you pronounce a word differently, it's still the same word because there's different dialects in Arabic.
Okay. Or do they contradict?
No, the Quran is only one Quran.
Got it. All right. Give me 1 second. Okay, so let's have fun with this objection and see if your position stands again. I would like that verse about the because I'm about to show you a hadith from one of the companions. You know who Ibn Masud is, right?
Of course.
All right, good. So different dialects means just people are pronouncing things differently, right? They're saying the same exact thing, just pronouncing things differently, right?
Well, not necessarily. It could be a different word.
Oh, it could be different word. Excellent. So that's not dialect.
That is dialect
No,
because
it's not.
different
So
dialects use different words.
will it mean the same thing?
Yes, of course.
Different words, same meaning? Okay, hold on. We got a comment from Too Many Marys. What does Allah say different? What does Allah say different things every time he speaks to Iblis about not bowing down to Adam? Did Allah forget what he said? That's his logic. That's true. Very good. Chapter
You
92,
want
verse
me
3.
to address that, or you want to just move on?
Yeah, you can while I get this reference. So the
Okay.
question is, why does
So I
Jesus
know what
say,
she's saying.
or
Yeah,
why does
she's saying
Allah?
because there's about 6 or 7 different accounts in the Quran about the story of Iblis not making
Same
prostrations to
situation and
Adam.
everything. Same situation and everything, right?
Correct. Yes.
So why are there different accounts of those?
Because when you're the author, then you're trying to relay a message of what
Oh,
happened,
oh,
and you can use different words.
oh, really?
Yeah, you don't understand that?
Incredible. So, but when the authors of the gospel do that, when they have a particular message they want to convey,
They're not the author though.
they're not
That's the big difference.
allowed to use it from their account and for their purpose.
They're not the author.
Whoa,
Not didn't you say they're not the
whoa,
author? So, for
whoa,
example, if I say I spoke to Avery on
whoa.
June 23rd at 8 o'clock,
You got to be
and then
consistent, my friend.
and then tomorrow I say I had a talk with Avery on. I'm
You
the
got to
author. I
be
can say what I want to
consistent.
say because I know what happened.
You got to be
Okay,
right.
but
And
when
so
you're
the authors who are hearing the words of Jesus and dictating them as they heard it,
you're not the author.
and if they want to, if they want to write down and dictate to people, to a particular audience, what Jesus said and what happened, and they have a particular purpose or message they want to get across, and they use what they heard particularly for this purpose, they can do that according to your logic when it comes to Allah doing the same thing.
No, I said the
But
author can.
But when
I'm
Christians do it, they
hold
can't
on,
do it. It means that it's
hold on, hold on,
unreliable.
hold on. I said the author.
Incredible.
I said the author can, not the person who's writing down.
Incredible.
And you already said that they wrote down word for word. But that's not the
Okay.
point. The point I'm
All right,
trying to
let's have
make,
fun.
let's just, like you
Let's
said,
have
we can
fun.
just,
Can you quote? Can you let's all right, let's do
I'm not
this.
trying to catch you. I'm not trying to defeat you in a
That's
debate.
okay.
That's not my point.
We come to the truth. We see if our objections, our criteria stands consistently. You cannot use an objection or a criteria that would work against you. That would show
Yeah,
that you're
that's
being
not what I'm trying
inconsistent.
to do. Well, I'm trying to be
So
as straightforward.
that's all I'm
Yeah, I'm
demonstrating.
trying to be as straightforward as possible. I'm not trying to win a
Good.
debate. I'm not trying to say, "Oh, I destroyed Avery in the back." That's not my point. That's
I
I
hope
don't
not.
even. Yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have a discussion, so we can come to a common. Not well. Hopefully, we can come to a common understanding, but at least we can get our points across. People can listen to them, and they can be the judge. So
Good.
you won't find me, for example, like trying to weasel out something I said.
No,
If
you've
I make
been
a
doing
mistake,
that this whole time. I'm
if
sorry.
I
If
if
I'm
I make
gonna
a
be
mistake,
real
I'll
with
just
you,
say I
you've
made
been
a
doing
mistake.
that this whole time.
No, if I made a mistake, I'll just say I made a mistake.
uh,
Or I won't try to run away from the question and things like
but
that.
you've been doing that this whole time. What are you talking
No,
about?
I'll answer anything you want to ask, I'll answer it.
Okay, can
So
you read chapter 92, verse 3 for me? You have a Quran
uh,
on you, or you want me to pull it up?
yeah, you can put it on the screen.
Okay.
See, I can have a conversation like this with you because you have manners. At least till now.
I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna let you talk
I'm
bad
not going
about
to talk
any of
about
my
anybody.
brothers.
I'm
All
not
right.
saying there's some people they call names, they
I
try to
appreciate the
make fun of
compliment, man.
people and things like that.
All right. All right. So go ahead and read this. Read this verse.
Okay. Are we on YouTube now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I put my bad. Hold on. There we go. Chapter 92, verse 3.
And that would create the male and the female.
Okay. So that's what Allah said, right? This is Allah revealing these words,
Every
correct?
word in the Quran is Allah's words. And this is a
Perfect.
translation, of course, in English. It's not.
Got you. So this is what he revealed, right?
Yes, the
Okay.
translation in English. That's what it
Okay.
means.
No problem. So this is what I want to do now is remember this. Remember, matter of fact, let me just open a new thing. Crap.
I'm gonna have to drop and I can come back, but I gotta go to the masjid for a salat in a minute. Just to let you know.
Okay, so all right, this will be our last. How much? Approximately how much time you got?
A couple minutes. I can come back afterwards if you're still here.
I don't know. I'll probably wrap it up. All right, let's see, because this will be the last point, then, and we'll wrap it up here, and maybe we can do like a part 2 sometime another time. Okay, but let me get this link up here, and all right, I just want to make sure that that's ingrained in your head.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So, what does the verse say again? I'm not on the screen looking at it, but what does it say?
And that which created the male and the female.
Okay, and that which created the male and the female. Okay. So that's what that says. All right, let's see. So this is Sahih al-Bukhari 49:44. Okay. It says, narrated by Ibrahim, the companions of Abdullah ibn Masud. You know who Ibn Masud is, right?
Of course.
Right. So he's one of the guys you're supposed to learn the Quran from, right?
Of course.
All right. So the companions of Abdullah ibn Masud came to Abu Darda, and before they arrived at his home, he looked for them and found them. Then he asked them, "Who among you can recite as Abdullah recites it?" So that he's asking who recites like Ibn Masud, right?
Uh-huh.
They replied, "All of us." He asked, "Who among you knows it by heart?" They pointed at Al-Qama. It's funny because I thought all Muslims remembered the Quran by heart, but that's neither here nor there. They pointed at one dude out of all of them that memorized the Quran, how Abdullah Masud recites it. Then he asked Al-Qama, "How did you hear Abdullah bin Masud reciting Surah Al-Lail the night?" Al-Qama recited, by the male and the female, right?
Uh-huh.
By the male and the female. Abu Adarda said, I testify that I heard the prophet reciting it likewise. But these people want me to recite it, and by him who created male and female. By Allah, I will not follow them. So, why is it that there are people reciting the Quran as they heard the Prophet reciting it and reciting it as and by him who created male and female instead of simply just by the male and the female?
Um.
The same way we see here, and that which created the male and female, but Ibn Masud doesn't recite it like this.
Okay. So basically, and I gotta make it quick, but I'm gonna try to answer in a minute or so. So the in order for the Quran to be recorded, there had to be two witnesses that heard it being recited. So it has to be it has to be an agreement between at least two people that it was recited that way. Now,
Hold on. How long will it take for you to come back?
about 30 minutes.
Dang, yeah, man, you out of here. That's crazy. Because that was your alarm to go, wasn't it?
That was my phone ringing. But to
Oh,
make it simple and short, okay. Um,
yeah.
the only one who's
Why does Ibn Masud say that the way you read it is wrong?
okay, it's possible he could have uh not agreed with other companions. That's why there's not one person who's perfect, except for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
So you
Like I
can't
said
trust the
before,
person who Muhammad said to trust. You can't trust the person who Muhammad said you should trust to recite the Quran. You can't trust him.
of course you can trust him, but what I'm saying is no one's perfect. That's
So
why there
then
had to be at least two witnesses who heard the Quran being recited, each
there
verse
are
being
two
recited.
witnesses. Abu Darda is one of the witnesses here. He says that yes, I heard the Prophet reciting it just like how you recited Ibn Masud and the companions, but I
But
heard,
yeah, but
but there
Zayd
are
ibn
others that are
Thabit,
reciting it this way that you read in your Quran today.
right? But Zayd ibn Thabit, he was the one entrusted with collecting each verse of the Quran
So
because he was the most knowledgeable in that regard. So
collecting the
if
Quran, that's why he was most knowledgeable.
that's why he was entrusted by Abu Bakr to collect all the
You
verses of
had
the Quran.
multiple people who were most knowledgeable in reciting the Quran. One of them is Ibn Masud
He
here.
was actually one of the scribes who wrote it down and he memorized it. So
And
he went
so
and
did
he
Ibn
found two
Masud.
people. I'm just telling you how it was recorded. He found at least two people
I'm not asking
to
how it was recorded. I'm asking why is it that Ibn Masud and Abu Darda say that the way that you read your Quran today is wrong? And actually, he goes so far as to say, uh, by Allah, I will not follow them. The ones who read the Quran like what we just read just now, how you read today.
right. So, like I said, Ibn Mas'ud is one person. He's not perfect, and there's other companions who had superiority over him, and it was a consensus from all of the companions who were foremost in knowledge about what would be recorded for each verse of the Quran.
Got it. So we cannot trust the person that Muhammad said to trust to in reciting the Quran.
Well, you have to
We actually
understand
need to
this.
find someone better than him. Uh, and maybe he made a mistake in reciting and memorizing it and teaching it to his companions. So he was teaching his companions the wrong way to recite, even though the hadith says that the way you read it and recite is the wrong way. I got it. I got you. Sounds good.
Okay, I hope that helped.
That
Now,
helped a lot.
I said last time, I mean, there's a certain point where you have to trust in your scholarship. You have to have iman. You have to have faith. I can't prove
Trust in man. Got
I
you.
can't. Yeah, I can't prove everything. I can't make people accept Islam. There's a certain point where you just have to look at Islam and Christianity, and then you compare the two, and you see which one, for example, um, recorded their book more authentically, which is more authentically recorded from their prophet. Uh, the Quran versus the New Testament, for example.
And according to Ibn Ashaq, the New Testament is good enough.
Yeah, but even a principle in Christianity is that you can't pick and choose your messengers, your prophets. So when a prophet comes, you have to accept what he says.
Well, he has
And
to
that's the
he has to
problem.
he has to qualify for being a messenger in the first place. So we'll talk about that next. Next time we'll talk about if Muhammad is truly a messenger according to the scriptures.
Okay,
If
that
he fits
sounds
the
good.
qualification. Sound good?
Sounds good to me. Thanks
Okay.
a lot. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, man. This was fun.
All right.
This was fun. But look, I don't want you just walking away and just like, oh yeah, that was a good conversation, whatever. Really think about like the challenges you were bringing up and then how they stand if they're brought back to you. Like this right here is a big problem when it comes to this narrative that the Quran is word for word the same and word for word transmitted perfectly as you said. This right here is a problem. If you're going to say that the companions of Jesus reciting what he spoke differently is a problem, you have a bigger problem here. The Quran that you read today is not the Quran that Ibn Masud was reciting, and he's one of the top guys, the four guys you're supposed to read, you're supposed to learn the Quran from. So think about this, combating. You have to think about this, okay? Please.
Yeah, I'll think about that, and I want you also to think about your obligation to follow the final messenger Muhammad, who even you know, because Jesus never said, "I'm the seal of the prophets," and he never said
He
anyone.
never brought up Ahmed either, according to you.
But according to Christianity, so far there's no seal of the prophets. There's no final prophet.
Jesus was. Yeah, Jesus, let me show you.
But
Let
you
me just
can't
show you and
prove
I'll
that.
leave you with this. I'll show you and I'll leave you with this.
You can't show me because I already know in the Bible there's nowhere it says that I am the seal of the prophets. And there's no prophet coming after me.
No problem. Let me show you this really quick.
I know what you're going to show me.
What am I going to show you?
You're going to show me something vague, a verse that's vague. It could mean 4 or 5 different meanings. And it doesn't say specifically that so and so is the seal of the prophets, and there's no
let
prophet
me
coming
just show
after
you
him.
how let me just show you how God speaks to us now. This is Hebrews chapter 1. Long ago, at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets. But in these last days, how does God speak to us? He has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed the heir of all things, through whom also he created the world. So in these last days, he's not speaking to us through prophets anymore. He's speaking to us and has spoken to us by his Son,
You
who is
added that.
also creator.
That last part. You added. He's not.
What do
When
you
you
mean
said
I
he's
added?
not. When you said he's not speaking to us by prophets anymore, you added that. That's not in the
Long
verse.
ago, at many times and in many ways, God spoke, past tense, to
Uh-huh.
our fathers by the prophets. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son. So, how does God speak
Okay,
to us
but
in
it
these
does
last
not
days?
say. It does not say that there's no prophet coming after Jesus. That's my point.
How does he speak to us in these last days?
It does not say there's no prophet coming. That's my point.
How does he speak to us in these last days? By prophets or by the Son?
According to what you just read by the Son, and it does not say that there's no prophet. Because could it be possible that a prophet
Does
could
he
come
speak
after
to
the
us in
Son?
these last days by a prophet or by his Son?
My point is, there's no verse that specifically says there's no prophet
Does he
coming
speak
after me.
to us according to this by prophets or by his Son in these last days?
According to that verse that you just read,
Uh-huh.
that we don't know where it came from and who said it and who the
The
author
apostles.
was, we don't know that.
All right, go
Those are
ahead.
those are
Answer the
question marks.
question. Answer the
But
question.
my point was
No,
you
no,
won't
answer
find
the question. According to the verse, does
according to
God
that. Yeah.
speak to us? How does God speak to us in these
Okay.
last days? By the
I got
prophets
I gotta
or
run. This is
by
my
his
last thing.
Son?
I gotta run. According
you
to that
answer those?
verse, it says by his son.
Thank
I got
you.
I got it wrong.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
See you later.
You just found your verse. Take care, bro.
All right. Take care.
All right, guys. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed the conversation that I had with combating. Man, you know, you guys see it here, man. You guys see it here. And Muslims, I hope that you guys can learn from these type of conversations, man. Takbir. I hope that you guys can learn from these conversations. You know, there's a certain way that if you want to argue, if you want to bring up objections, make sure that the criteria that you're using doesn't backfire against you. Yes, that's exactly where I was going to go next, Mary, but he had to leave. I was literally going to go next. But let's actually, thank you for bringing that up, sister. Let's quote this for the edification of the room before I close down. I was literally about to quote that verse before he left. But he got on out of here, man. So in Luke chapter 16, verse 16, thank you so much, Sister Mary. Jesus says, the law and the prophets were until John. The law and the prophets were until John. Since then, the good news of the kingdom of God, the gospel, is preached, and everyone forces his way into it. So according to Jesus, the law and the prophets stopped at John the Baptist. According to the book of Hebrews, God speaks to us in these last days, not by prophets, but by his son. Go ahead and do that. So my Muslim friends, make sure that if you're going to bring up objections to Christianity, make sure that your objections, your arguments, do not backfire against you. Make sure, or else it's going to hurt. It's going to be tough. Yeah, Green. You know what I'm saying? So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, did I put that verse on the screen? I did, right? There you guys have it. Do not use a criteria that will backfire against you. That's called hypocrisy. And Allah knows best. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I was off today, so I happened to have some time, and and happened to be able to try to have this conversation with our new friend there. So you guys stay tuned, man. I'm gonna be doing a new video pretty soon, probably on Jeremiah 8:8. On Jeremiah 8:8, probably gonna do a little short, like probably 12 minute video on that really quick, and try to post that sometime this week or next week. If you haven't already seen, I did a video on how to prove that the Bible is from God to a Muslim, obviously by quoting the Quran. You guys already know how that goes. So, all right, guys, this will be it. This was a good time. An hour and 30 minutes. This is a good time to end it. It's an easy watch, easy listen to. All right, you guys be blessed. Keep me in your prayers. Keep the ministry in your prayers, guys. We're growing. Our numbers are growing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just excited for this journey. And I'm glad that you guys are with me every step of the way, here with me doing this. I want you guys are a part of this, to watch this ministry grow. So this is what we do. Wow. And we just had somebody else give another offering. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys, man. I really do. I love you all. All right, so we're out. Let me try to get this video up here so we can go ahead and end it. Y'all know what this is. This is God Logic Apologetics, the God Logic Project. Until next time. It's God.